مرحبا، أنا باسل كيلاني مع تك سباركس. اليوم مقابلتنا مع جورج زاكري. جورج من أكثر الناس نجاحا عالميا في مجال الاستثمارات في الشركات الريادية، وتحديدا بالشركات اللي بتركز على المحتوى الناتج من قبل مستخدمين الإنترنت. يعمل حاليا جورج كشريك عام في شركة تشارلز ريفرز فينتشرز، وعنده سجل حافل من النجاحات في شركات الريادية مثل شركة أندري اللي انباعت ب 2006، شركة شاترفلاي اللي راحت IPO في عام 2006، سوبر تراكس، اكرو سوفتوير، كريتيكال باث، سكيورفاي، اوفيشن انترتينمنت، ساند كاسل، تيلبوت. وقبل انضمامه للشركة الحالية كان جورج شريك عام في شركة مور ديفيدو فينتشرز، وكان قاد شركة نينتندو 64 سيليكون جرافيكس، وعمل كمدير تسويقي في شركة فيرتشوال رياليتي. خلينا ننتقل للمقابلة.
Okay, so the first question is, so how many deals do you go through a year, and how many of them do you close on average?
Wow. Well, I've been in the venture business since 1995, and I stopped counting at about company number 20,000 that emailed me or contacted me. So I know it's 20,000 plus, and I have funded, at the venture level, about 30 companies, for 30 to 40 companies, and seed funded another 60. So, I'd say it's about a combined 90 companies out of over 20,000.
Okay, and annually, how many of those are you looking at on average?
Yeah, annually, I'd say I get about 50 to 100 a week, but not all weeks are that high. I would say, let's just cut that in half and say the average is about 25 to 50 over that time, over a full year. It's probably 1,000 to 2,000 per year. Yeah, it's safe to say 2,000 a year.
Okay, and so what was the quickest deal you closed, and how long did it take?
A number of our seed investments we closed on the spot, meeting the entrepreneur for the first meeting. Probably 1/6 of all of our seeds were closed on the spot, like at the time of the first meeting. The rest of the seeds were all closed within 24 to 48 hours. Venture investments, fastest ever. You mean from like just having a handshake, or having like the money wired and the docs completed and everything?
I guess a handshake is a way of just
yeah. That's what I can use. I would say about 5 to 7 days, about a week.
Okay. And so, in terms of those investments, out of all these investments, which one was the most gratifying investment for you, and why?
There's a lot of them. I'd say the most gratifying investments are ones that you see a person who has good character and good intentions that wants to do something to change the world for the better. It's always great to see someone starting a company that changes the world and makes the world better. And making money is good, but it's not the end all be all. So I think there's investments like that, and it's nice to see when good things happen to founders who work hard. I'd say the one that's most recent in my memory is a company called Millennial Media, which is now the second biggest mobile ad network behind Google. We just passed Apple, and the company's over 100 million of revenue, and it's a great founding team. They're just super people, really nice, hardworking, honest, straightforward people, and they're soon to file, and that's when they go public. So that's just the one that's out in my head recently.
Okay. And looking at the flip side now, what has been the worst investment for you, and why?
It's been the worst investment for me.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I always forget the ones that are the worst ones. I do. It's just selective memory. I think the worst ones are the ones where I invested in a company called One Season, which is a fantasy sports site, The founders were great guys. I really liked them. The first month that they launched, they did $3 million of revenue, but they had some problems with the site and the product on the site. They had breakdown in traffic and playability of their fantasy sports game, and the company just degraded, and the founders couldn't figure out how to fix the product. I'm not sure anyone could have, because I think it was more of a product design issue than a specific engineering issue on scalability. And they slowly lost traffic, and eventually they had to shut down the company. And that, to me, was a really bad one, because I really liked the founders. They had a great jump out from the beginning. They did great.
Okay.
So that's kind of that's a bummer for me to see that.
Sure. So looking at the consumer and consumer web and the mobile space, now those are one of the areas that you follow and you have an interest in. Where do you see the future in those areas, and do you have any specific verticals within those areas?
I just look for things that could change the world. That's my focus. I don't think about sectors. I just think about, is this founder focused on changing the world? Could this product, what they're working on, change the world? Now look, everything changes the world. A butterfly flapping its wings changes the world. Everyone tells me what they're doing is going to change the world, but very few people are focused on doing it in reality, and I mean in a big way. I was the initial investor in Twitter, and Twitter's a product that's effectively changed the world.
Right.
And I wasn't sure it was going to be that from the beginning, but those are certainly the kinds of investments I'd like to make. And my investment thesis is that change the world investments will also return capital, but they're also very high risk and very high probability of becoming a zero as an investment. But that's okay, because my focus is on changing the world and creating great returns in process, not trying to optimize each investment.
So you have an outstanding record of IPOs and acquisitions for investments. Andale, Shutterfly, Supertrax, Acro Software, Critical Path, Securify, Ovation Entertainment, Sandcastle, Talabot, to name a few. What advice do you give to startups from outside the U.S. that want to achieve such exits in the U.S. market?
Oh, for exits like that?
Yeah.
The best way to have an exit in the United States is to have the company located in the United States. Acquirers usually like to acquire other companies who are local so that they can build in those people from that startup directly into their company. And that frequently doesn't happen unless the company is physically close to the potential acquirers. In terms of IPO, that can be different. But, Skype got started effectively in Europe. But over time, they ended up moving here. So, but Skype was initially an acquisition. I think about Shutterfly, where I was co-founder, and it's a public company now. We have people who are interested in acquiring the company who are physically local. I'd say setting up the headquarters of the company near the country of potential acquisition of the potential acquirer is the right thing to do.
Gotcha. Okay.
It increases the probability that you will be acquired significantly.
So we are very bullish on the Arab market. What do you think of it?
I think it's untapped. It's a great culture full of people focused on education and the mind. I think there's huge potential, and it's really going to start to open up, I think, over the next decade. I think it's very exciting.
So, based on this remark, are you, as George Zachary, willing to invest in a startup in the Arab world? If yes, please note, what would it take? And if not, can you specify the reason behind that? Yeah,
so I would say yes, but the company has to be located in the U.S. Okay. The reason why I say that is I see the probability of success for companies being greatly increased if they're in Silicon Valley or near potential acquirers or where there's pre-existing engineering talent. being of Greek origin now, I'm seeing a lot of Greek technology founders leaving Greece and coming to the U.S., which I'm glad about. I only fund companies on the western half of the United States, and there's a specific reason why. And the reason why is because of my existing workload with my companies, board meetings, and all of my own physical network. I have to focus in order to be successful, and that focus is meant on spending time with companies and people and not flying around on planes, which I also hate doing. Right?
Sure.
On top of it, I have a young family, and I choose to not fly.
Okay.
So I only work with companies in the western half of the U.S. If any of those companies want to potentially relocate to the western half of the U.S., then I'd love to talk to them.
You get a lot of inquiries for investments. What sparks your attention in an email and in person?
Yeah, in email, it always helps if the person gets a referral to me because of the volume of inbound email I get. I always look at the things that get referred to me first. And it's not some kind of, boys club thing or anything. It's just everyone emails me, and the ones I pay attention to first are the ones that are referred by people I know, because that's kind of an indicator, a filtration indicator, which is if that person's willing to risk a bit of their reputation with me to introduce a product or a company to me, that tells me they must think it's good. Or because if I think it's really bad, then they probably wouldn't want to refer it to me because they don't want to take the reputational hit. So I always say get a good referral into a venture firm, usually from a founder and entrepreneur that knows the firm. After that, when I look at the summary of the company, I'll first look to see, what is this company doing? What's the big idea? Like the worst way a company can present it is some little micro idea saying, oh, we have a better file format that changes the suffixes of file names. It's like, okay, that might be technically valuable, but that's not really a product. So I always try to see, is there a whole product being thought of in the summary level? I like to see things that are innovative, that are different and new and big ideas, not the same ideas over and over and over. The biggest and most disruptive companies comes from things that people usually think at the beginning are a bit crazy or almost impossible to do. So I look for things that are difficult to do, and the founders have passion and a unique angle of how to do them.
As far as how about trends that you've seen lately?
I think the one trend that everyone knows of is that mobile is the new platform. Mobile is the way that people are going to connect the offline and online worlds together. And I think the majority of interesting things around consumer internet and internet infrastructure are going to have to do with that specific phenomenon.
Okay.